Kjol. How do you say music?
Kjol.
But then it says that Kjol's not just necessarily music.
Yeah, it's same way. Like something that's interesting is like how, like, so how would you say if someone took part in like, a game of football? What did they do?
That they played it.
They played a game of football.
Yes.
But like in Irish, you would say Jimmer she Clayhapel. So Jimmer or immer is like a verb for it's play, but it's play in like a competitive or like in an organised sense, if you know what I mean. It directly means sport. Or like
it has no other connotation.
No.
If you use that verb, you're talking about playing a game of sport. I'm not playing the guitar. I'm not playing silly buggers. I'm playing sport.
Yes. Whereas like, and then playing guitar, it's like shen. So shen me on guitar.
It's the same in Spanish. You don't play the guitar. You touch the guitar.
Yeah. So like that's its own thing again.
Yeah.
And then playing is in like fucking Lego and like tippy is sugru.
So that's like like joyful children's play.
Yes. Yeah. So it's all separate.
Oh.
There we go. That's all recording. Let's go off that.
And that's it done. Welcome
to
Word Up. I am Sean McDonald.
And I am David Doherty-Jebb.
Welcome to Word Up Boys Takeover Mark 3.0. Woohoo! Is it the third time we've done this?
The third time, yeah.
Yeah. The gorgeous Bronagh.
All the lads.
All the lads. It's all the lads together.
Word Up the stag do.
Word Up the stag do. The hangover. Is there a word in Irish for hangover?
Fuck. Aye. There probably is, and I'm not aware of it.
Shall we look it up and see?
Let's ask chat.
Let's ask chat. How does one? I always try to be right. Right, you've kind of come into the middle of our chat a wee bit today.
Yeah.
So boys are taking over. ChatGPT has slowly become the fifth member of the Word Up team. How does one say hangover in
Potch?
Irish?
To potch arm. Oh, aye, yeah. Oh, aye. Fuck yeah. Heard that. To potch arm.
I've got that. Oh, mine. Right. Sorry, everybody. My autocorrect changed it to handover. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. How we brain further? Yeah, potch, like to potch arm. It's sort of like, it's a...
Ta potcher, like I have it on me.
Yeah. I've also heard people using that for sickness. Like...
Meaning, ta pot, common and informal. Here we go.
So what's this one? The Genius Kin Tarish and Iher. So that's like,
my head's killing me.
I'm sick from last night.
Okay.
So like that's just more like going a long way about it. Yeah, that's more like what I would say actually though.
You'd be more like
you're more matter of fact, and you're just sort of like there's a lot of things in Irish where it's like it does.
That's just the way it is.
You just have to like basically set all the building blocks out for it, rather than it's not hangover. It's I'm sick because last night I was drinking.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean?
Right, okay. Which is weird because in Hiberno English, we have so many words for drunk and hangover.
Yeah, and there is like lots of colloquialisms too, and like lots of like shortened down things. But it's just funny. I think it's how languages develop, and especially ones like Irish that are on the fringes of like fucking. Where it's like.
We'll bring everybody into our thinking. So what we've decided to do. For those of you who follow us and have been on the Patreon and all these different things, knows that and if you don't know, I'm going to fucking tell you. So listen, shut the fuck up and listen. Sean is Gaeilgeoir, so which could you explain? So for anybody who's like listening, and like if anybody's listening over Frank's shoulder in America and doesn't know what a Gaeilgeoir is, or a Gaeilgeoir as they might pronounce it down south, how can you explain what that is to people who have no concept?
So a Gaeilgeoir. Actually, it's just anyone that speaks Irish or has a fondness for speaking Irish.
Right, so you don't need to be fluent to be a Gaeilgeoir?
No, but Gaeilgeoir Líofa is a fluent Irish speaker.
Right, okay.
So,
you don't get the Líofa.
Yeah.
You don't get the Líofa.
If you don't buy the tree.
Yes! Oh my god. That is gone. We have that on camera. We are fucking copywriting that. We are sending that to, like, you know, all the Gael talks around the fucking island.
New PR campaign.
You don't get the Líofa if you don't buy the tree. Oh my god. That is amazing.
Yeah, so Líofa is the word for fluent.
For fluent. Does it have any other connotations?
No, but it also...
Proficient?
Like, when you say
Could you be a
Líofa...
Líofa reader?
Yeah. And it also just sort of... When I said, I think
I've got my wee gay iced coffee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think of someone learned.
Yeah,
somebody,
right, okay.
Like, I don't know, smart as well.
Because what's the word for, like, what? Fisha? How do you say, like, a wise person?
Sean. So
Sean.
this is Sean. Like the way my name's meant to be pronounced.
Sean
is like
it's not
Dinna Sean or Sean Dinna.
Sean Dinna.
Is is also old. It's also Sean Dinna is an old person, but it's also a wise person.
Oh, like an old head, like a kind of like an old
wise
head.
And old sort of go hand in hand.
Do we would say? I don't know if they say this in England, but like an old head on a young show, like he's got an old head on him.
Yeah.
He's a wise guy.
He's a wise
guy.
I've seen a couple of Shandinyas up the corner.
So you think you're a Shandinya, do you? Hey, look at him acting old Sean.
So a Gaeilgeoir is any of us. So a Gael, I feel like I'm like doing like it feels very professional this week.
Yeah.
We think we've got like laptops, fucking pens.
So tell me about your book.
So you brought out a new book. Tell me all about it. What was the inspiration behind Sean, A Life in Letters?
I went on an expedition of the Middle East.
Of self-discovery.
I went through the Appalachian Mountains. Yeah.
So only when you're in the Appalachian Mountains with no toilet paper and nowhere to take a shit that you realise what's important.
Yeah, that's when I really became Sean.
I'm
not Sean.
Sean. He no longer is Sean. He is Shao Shan. Shan man.
But I would have got Sean in school.
So you went to an Irish medium
Primary school.
So
that's why, like, I'm still fucking rusty around the edges. And I grew up in West Belfast too, which is like the most... Like, which is a Gaeltacht area.
Yeah.
Like, but very fucking loose with the definition.
It
you know
is
what I mean?
like, so Irish would be an endangered language.
Yes.
Irish is an endangered language for many reasons. One of the main reasons being like
colonialism.
Yes, I was going to say we'll skim over colonialism. Do you know what I mean? Because but yeah, Irish was very much made. It was illegal to speak Irish. You got
like
what
penal
was
laws.
the thing you got? That was like a. Oh, there was like you got like a slate. You got like there was like you were punished. So do you know if you were like, you know, talking 1890s, early 1900s, and you were maybe a working class person of any religion, I would just like to put in a little asterisk to go with if this was a Terry Pratchett novel, there would be an asterisk here.
Yeah.
You would go down to the bottom of the page and you would say that everybody from the island of Ireland spoke Irish.
Yeah.
As if you were a working class person.
Even settlers. And stuff as well. Like, so really long, ancient, old tradition, you know, and actually it's worth pointing out, anyone who isn't aware that, like, the Irish language exists today because of the Presbyterian Church. Because...
Loves the Irish, hates the gays.
Yeah.
Can't have both.
Very much like, that's not the case anymore, but the thing was that, like, Irish was seen as sort of like a scholarly thing.
To the Presbyterians, because the English didn't. English people.
No, they saw it as like
a barbaric, savage language, and they
so
didn't see any of the poetry or the.
Also, it sort of, they didn't want, you know, the Irish people to have a sense of patriotism or like
a language that they couldn't speak.
Is it because there was a lot of like religious scripts that were written in Irish by like?
It probably is to do with that. It's because, you know, if you think about all of our oldest educational like facilities, it's all based off monasteries and like, you know, the only people that were educated were really, you know, clergy people.
It was the only way to learn how to read or write, because there was no need. If you were a person working on a farm, there was no need for you to be able to read or write, because it didn't enhance what you could do.
Yeah.
And so you were very much, you know, put into, you didn't have to learn to read or write.
Yeah.
And also, if you think, we're a little history lesson for people who are not, but Ireland was Ireland had its own ecumenical centres, but it also was a centre of learning for these British Isles, where people sent if you go back to the early Christian saints that are now saints of England and Wales and Scotland, very many of them would have been sent to Ireland to be educated.
St. Patrick.
So they were
Land of saints and scholars.
a lot of saints and scholars, land of saints and scholars. So Irish today. How do you feel as a young? What age are you, Sean?
I'm 28.
You're 20, so you're a young. What are you, Gen? Are you a millennial or are you Gen Z?
Apparently, I've been told recently that I fall into Gen Z. But
are you a zillennial, maybe?
I'm a zillennial. I'm really on the border.
On the cusp.
And
what age are you, Luke?
27.
You're 20, so you're like zillennials.
Yes.
So you kind of remember a time before everybody had phones.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But technology was ubiquitous to your life.
Yes, I got a phone in first year, I think. So, like...
I didn't.
What year was that?
That would have been 2008.
2008, oh my word. I was having my first mental breakdown around about that point. It was like, 27, apparently that's like, the third age. Like your life goes in like sevens.
Yeah.
So like around about 28.
Well, like a dog.
That's whenever. Yeah. Apparently, yes, your whole life, like the ship of Theseus,
it's
your whole
like,
body.
Yeah, you're a new person
Every cell has changed in
yeah.
that period of time.
Yeah.
And and if you're going to have a wee early mentee bee, 27, 28 is usually the time, and I did. So like
I don't know whether I've had it yet or whether I've came out the other end of it.
It was a really quiet wee one.
Maybe it was like maybe I was distracted having Liam.
Judas, yeah,
Probably.
good. If you have a baby. So you learned Irish in
primary school and
primary
nursery school.
And nursery. So did any of your family speak, or as we would say in Ireland, have Irish? Do you have Irish? I always think that's really interesting. You don't speak Irish. Do you have Irish?
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And I think it's
isn't
nice.
a lot of things like that? Like you don't say like you have, or you don't say like I'm sick. You would say like
sickness is upon me.
yeah.
Yeah, so that one we said at the start.
Upon me.
So that they're to potch Urim.
Yeah.
I have a hangover upon me. Like
So you're
you're not the
personalising it?
hangover.
You're moving it away from you.
Yeah.
But even in English, you would say it, like in English, that moves into English when it comes to the Irish language. People go, do you have any Irish?
Yeah.
Do you know, do you have Irish? And you would say, no, I don't have any Irish. Or yes, I do have Irish. Or,
So my my family didn't grow up like in a traditional Irish sort of setting. So like my grandparents wouldn't have spoke it or anything, but my parents took a real keen interest in the Irish.
Yeah. But none of your siblings went to Irish medium school?
None of them did. But I think when they were all sort of like post-primary school, then my parents really got into it. And
what was it? What was it?
know.
Was it just a thing where like
it might have been political. It might have
been political.
like it might have been like a way for them with everything that was going on at the time. Like they were a lot older. Like so, my parents had me when they were 40.
Did they have you when you were born?
When I was born, yes.
Were you born at a very young age? Were you born at a very young age?
I was. Surprisingly, yeah. Like I was quite young to be born.
It took me 2 years to learn how to walk.
Yeah.
I remember I was born. I couldn't take a step. Well, actually, no, that's not true. My mum was like, "No, David, you were up fucking walking and talking at 18 months, and then you wouldn't fuck up."
I know, like whenever I first started, I didn't know what to say. Like,
talking shit and sitting and shit.
I didn't even know how to wait my home.
Preach, brother.
So,
he's eating a banana now, so he might very quickly be falling into the same situation. Our potassium runs right through you. So they were very interested. And so, did your siblings then kind of?
They took that on, like so. Going through like secondary school, I think there wasn't really much opportunity in Belfast before that to be able to do that.
Your brother.
So yeah, they're all
renowned Northern Irish storyteller and stand-up comedian Paddy McDonald is Patrick
James McDonald
Jr. Is he Patrick Jr.? No,
he is Patrick Jr.
He's Patrick Jr. He me and Patrick and I are the same age,
Yeah.
and so if I think back to that sort of time, Irish was very divisive.
Yeah.
Growing up, I remember. I remember. Now, listen, I did not grow up in a us and them household, so like I just loved language. I
Yeah.
loved language and languages, and then like So growing up, I was always looking to other countries and going, oh look, gosh, I was born in Germany and they speak German, and look, and France, oh, I love and Spanish and da da da. And then whenever I found out, oh my God, there's like another language that's not English is from here where I'm from. Oh my God, this is really interesting. This is class.
Yeah.
And then they did it was like a 6-week like taster thing. They must have been trying to do it around kind of like non-denominational, which is now called integrated schools.
Yeah.
And we did this 6-week thing where it was like Irish language and Irish culture, which I'd already knew about because I devoured everything on fucking Irish mythology by the time I was 17. But I remember at that time there were like 3 or 4 people whose mums and dads wrote into the school to get them taken out of that course. We were just all signed up for it automatically. There was too many people in lower sixth.
It was political. It was like
It was so political.
It was a statement.
This is just literally 2 years pre Good Friday Agreement. A year and a half, 2 years pre Good Friday Agreement, and so like it was it was divisive.
Yeah.
And it was something that I didn't really, because I didn't grow up in an overly politicized household, I didn't get.
Yeah.
And it was always a shock to me that people felt so strongly against it.
Yeah.
It was weird to me. It was just weird to me. So that's 96. That's 96, 97. Fast forward to you being in nursery school.
Which would have been like the year 1999,
Mm-hmm.
2000. So still, like, I mean, very close there. But by that stage, I think for a good while before that, my parents had started going to like Irish language communities and groups.
And were your mum and dad trying to learn Irish?
Yeah, at this stage they were quite like
Fluent?
They were quite maybe not like
Líofa?
but like maybe Bronagh.
Twigga?
Yeah. That's Irish, by the way. No,
That does sound like a place in the north of Bronagh.
Bronagh.
Where'd you go, Bronagh?
Yeah, I grew up around the corner from a branch of shops. Like,
Yeah.
A branch of the banks?
Bronagh Brill.
What
branch of Brill. I did, like, we actually did grow up in Grantia. Like, so, like,
branch of
not
Branch.
far off. Branch actually just means the Grange.
The Grange?
yeah.
Branch. That probably sounds like a loan word, doesn't it? They're probably taking that from English.
Yeah.
Which probably comes from Latin.
Yeah.
You know words that you know?
Well, it's actually Grand Shock.
Grand Shock.
Grand Shock. And then the anglicised version of is Grantia.
Grantia.
But, which, actually, it's funny that, isn't it? Because Grand Shock probably was some sort of Anglo fucking Saxony like thing that had just filtered over here.
And then it's been taken in.
Gaelicised and then Anglicised again. Isn't that funny? Like?
But it's because is it translations? Is that play, which is like if you want to know a wee bit, like if you want to like introduce yourself to a wee bit more of an idea of what it was like, of how all these names came about. Isn't it Branfrail translations?
I don't know.
Branfrail. So it's basically these English people are coming over to write the signs of the place, and they're talking to and then you see them mistranslating all. There's Do you know like Belfast?
Belfast.
Do you know what I mean? Like you could just have called Belfast. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
Doesn't need to be sped up.
It didn't need to be split up. It didn't need to be split up.
Yeah.
So,
Shaggle shan't kill you.
Will I? Shan'll kill you.
Shan'll kill you.
Shan'll kill you. So yeah. So you learn. So how much does how much does Irish
Mean
be
to me?
part of your everyday life?
A lot more than I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Because I sort of took it for granted a bit, because I had my parents really like pushing it. Like they thought, wow, like it's a great opportunity. Like the other kids didn't have the chance to go to an Irish school. Like the only one in Belfast at the time was Bunscough Football First Year. It turns out to be the primary school I ended up going to. But when that was established, I think in 88, 86, 88 or something.
That would have been really difficult to get your kids to go.
Yeah, it was like it was a tin hut, like the size of this room. You know, with
And the
fucking
teachers were somebody
from the road that just came out of jail.
I was going to say, like somebody
They
who'd
also
learned
came out of a temple.
somebody who'd
That
learned
also came out of that. Yeah.
somebody who'd learned Irish in Long Kesh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, apparently there is. I read somewhere
One
there
can't
is like
help the other.
there's the different accents
Oh.
plus Long Kesh because it's
Yeah.
they've learned Irish within like a vacuum nearly.
But you know what?
Uh-huh.
I fucking love that. And you see, I don't see where the like.
Where's the prop?
Where's the problem with that? Because I grew up speaking with this dialect, with this accent. West
Mm-hmm. Would you say that
Belfast.
you speak Long Kesh Irish?
Having never been in jail?
Well, a wee
Because
bit.
I don't
Gail
change.
Long Kesh.
This is where, because it's sort of, obviously it's weird saying it in its infancy with an ancient language, but like
This modern version, this modern wave of Irish that has it is within essentially because it's probably like within what like 100
years
Jo-
of like its resurgence.
Yes.
Yeah, so like, it's weird because people are stuck between like trying to treat it like an English speaker trying to learn French and also being a native and learning your native language just naturally.
There's a disconnect, isn't there? Because it's been like it has been. I know it's really and truly like we're having this conversation between the three of us, right? And it feels very relaxed. But we're actually really having. If we were to have this conversation in a different room, it would be very politically charged.
Oh, yeah.
Where it is like because you do have to. You have
People
to
get very
acknowledge,
emotional about it.
but you have to acknowledge on both sides.
Yeah.
Because like some people have to acknowledge that the part their ancestors played was in wiping out a cultural identity.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I think that's difficult for people to swallow, and it's difficult for people to go, oh, and it's difficult to say. There's the claws have been in for so long that it's really difficult for people to go because like Irish, like for people who don't know, maybe who are listening outside of Belfast or outside of the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, Irish names on road signs.
Is a
street
divisive
signs,
issue.
Is a divisive issue. I find that so ridiculous. I find it ridiculous.
So this is the thing. The whole issue of it has been politicized.
Yeah.
Because, as it says, it was more of a scholarly thing. It was embraced by both sides of the community, in the same way that, like, if
Because it was the language of the common man.
yeah, so like that's why our place names have that. That's why like our sort of Ulster Scots and our or even just our the way we say we things.
And people don't
Like,
realize
in
how
English-
deeply entrenched the English that they speak is imprinted by Irish.
Yeah.
Hiberno English is a dialect of itself, which is like it's the linguistic baby of English and Irish.
Yeah, so it's only within like the last maybe 200 years that that has been turned into like a green or orange thing.
Yeah.
And
Whose
it's only
fault was that?
Who's to blame?
Who's to blame? Was that Eamon, Mr. De Valera himself? Was that part of his kind of thing? Because before, way, like going back, like he was trying to create like this is why Ireland should be independent because it is, and he was listing all like the mythology. He was getting people to compile mythologies. He was getting people to speak the language. He was
Yeah.
getting sports. He was like, we are completely different people.
Yeah.
So is there like fault is probably the wrong, because then what happens then is people.
Which is sort of like a
It laid the groundwork for today's
in a way
unionists.
sort of fascist or like in a way where it's like they are different people. It's not a
It's sort of like, but I hear what you're saying, but I think it's like it's the answer to an authoritarian thing,
Yes,
where it's like it's the reply to it because they're like, and De Valera wasn't American, but
it's sort of
it was the answer to your culture and your identity
Reclaiming.
being erased.
yeah. I mean, I don't want to be comparing Eamon De Valera to fucking
Trump.
Benjamin Netanyahu, but you know what I mean. But a similar sort of thing. It's like with Israel, it's like, and Zionism, it's like siege mentality. Like when you've been persecuted for so long, how do you fucking respond to that? And it's by like doubling down and making your own community feel like they are standing alone against the rest of the world.
Uh-huh.
You know, so I think that is where that.
And it's creating, because I think a similar sort of thing happened, and I don't know if about Finnish history to know if there was like a militaristic kind of like thing went on, but like Finland was part of Sweden for so long that ethnic Finns lost their language. They just spoke Swedish, and even now, like I think 50% of Finland is Swedish language.
Yeah.
So they found this poem, this epic poem called the Kalevala, and they reconstructed a language from it. So yes, there would have been people maybe who lived in mountains and wee villages and places like that, much like Ireland.
Yeah, that's why that's why the Irish language has so much gaps in it too, in terms of like linguistic structures, because there's about, you know, there's a couple
200 to 300 years of it just being paused.
Yeah, its evolution just stopped there.
Yeah, like neologisms, like television.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Television, radio, microwave, you know, things where you're like, right, we've had to look, because yes, like Finnish has a lot of Swedish loan words, because, you know, 200 years worth of technological advances in which there was no linguistic parallel, and then suddenly you have to go, fuck, well, where's the nearest language? Right, there's English, has a language, but we'll make it Gaelicised, or we'll make it Finnicised, or we'll, you know, you kind of had to, because Hebrew's the same, like, until the creation of Israel, like people did not speak Hebrew. Like Jewish people across the world spoke Yiddish. Which was like a more of a Germanic language. And so Hebrew had to be reconstructed.
Yeah, it had no chutzpah.
It had no chutzpah. They didn't. Didn't have the. I don't know. I was trying to think of how do you say cojones in Yiddish?
Oh, I don't know.
No schmuck means penis.
Schmuck. Yeah.
Penis.
I know maggerly, which is ball bag or testicles.
And Maggerly?
Maggerly.
Does that like Maggerly?
Maggerly.
So
I'm going to Maggerly from holidays.
Magaluf.
To come back on like, where's the play in my life? And
yes.
And like, and then on that sort of like, you know, the
like how does
of it all.
How do you feel? Like, how much is Irish part of your identity as a person?
You say the long and cash of it all.
The long and
cash of it all.
Listen, the long and cash of it all.
Yeah, it doesn't have the long cash Irish accent, but maybe a short.
Here, it's as long as it's cash.
As long as it's cash. As long as it's cash. 6 of 1.
So like, when you go to an Irish class, typically what you'll have is someone who has like, either like they have came through the tradition of Irish like in their family, and like or they've went to university and studied it, and like, but either way you'll typically get someone who's trying to teach a class in West Belfast, like having a real Western Irish pronunciation of all these words and phrases,
which isn't the local dialect or pronunciation,
which I don't understand, because like, for one, we need to understand the sort of situation that Irish is in Belfast, where that, like, so West Belfast people, what we're trying to do is we're trying to integrate the language more and encourage the language, promote the language.
Bring it to life.
Yes. So I don't think you'd do that by making people... Imagine, like, if we were doing this anywhere else, right? Let's say America, right? Let's say America was trying to fucking reclaim some sort of native language.
Yeah.
There, right? Which yeah, they could do with a lot of language.
They could do a lot of language help, yeah.
Let's say you're doing it in New York. Why would you be like trying to get them to speak like someone from Wisconsin?
Yeah.
You know, why would that make sense?
Why are you if you're trying to reinvigorate the local language, it has to be the local version of that language.
Yeah.
You can't be bringing in like, but it also then introduces a snobbery into the language.
Because the reason I think that happens is because when we teach other languages, other Western languages especially, like if you learn Spanish as a person from Northern Ireland, you learn how to try and put on a bit of a Spanish accent to pronounce it.
You don't learn it what way your Spanish teacher says it, like.
You don't go, Hola, ¿cómo estás? You know
I
what I
remember
mean?
having a French teacher and she was like, Bonjour, je m'appelle Madame Hodgson. Et je viens de Hillsborough. And it was like, she just made no attempt whatsoever.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. She made no attempt whatsoever.
Which
and
makes
I
no
remember being,
sense because if you're go over in the situation that you're using it in, you're going into France, you're going into Spain to
You
use
have to
that
make some
language.
sort of, whereas like Irish should be.
You're using it on
I
the
should
Falls
just-
Road. Speak like
yeah.
someone from the Falls Road.
But if I'm speaking Irish, I don't need to put an accent on.
Yeah.
It's my.
That's the way I see it.
As a person from Northern Ireland, north of Ireland, occupied 6 counties, I like to keep myself sweet with all the different denominations and demographics that we're reaching out to. Do you know, like Irish, you know, but you know, not coming from, you know, coming from a unionist background with a small U, like Irish was not for me.
yeah.
But as I've grown older, I've realised that that's not the case, you know, and I think also times have changed, and it's like if Irish is for everybody. So like if I just speak Irish, I don't have to put an accent on. I just speak it. I just say it. I just pronounce it the way it's meant to be pronounced.
Yeah.
But without having to put an accent on, because the accent that I'm using is okay because it's my language.
And it's weird as well because like I've only really heard people speaking Irish with a West Belfast accent. So in recent years, whenever I've either been looking something up or doing research or like working at events where other people are from other parts of Ireland that are speaking Irish, it even sounds, even though I'm not understanding like 80% of what they're saying, it still sounds weird. And going like, oh, that's not the same.
It's the same. It's like
Do you know what I mean?
sometimes I think if you're an English speaker listening to Dutch, it sounds like you're like listening to somebody speaking in a hotel room through a thin wall, and you're
Yes.
catching every 4th or 5th word, and you're going, I kind of know
Or
what
it
they're
sounds
saying.
like you've went kind of deaf,
Well,
or you've had some sort of head trauma.
I could hear. I remember like how I had.
But like
we had the
I
cafe.
I can really hear the differences between the accents.
The wideness.
If
There's
you
like a
know what I
more
mean.
wideness, I think, in the
Yeah.
like. There's more. Do you like
kinda
the
like, do you
between
ever-
ta and taw and things like that? There,
Yeah.
where there's like some
Do you ever
people
get when
don't
you have
fathers.
someone from like Scandinavia that's learned English from like the age of 2
Yeah.
and they've got a full on like London English accent?
Yeah.
But what gives them away is like the wee words that they said. It's like their accent is totally amazing because they're maybe a little bit American, a little bit transatlantic.
watching
But then they'll
TV and
say,
stuff.
"Last night we did amazing party.
Yeah.
We did an amazing party last night.
Let's do party.
Let's do a party.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the TV right now?
Yeah, you get that with German people, that don't you? Because
I love it.
like they would say, "Wir machen
Ein Party.
ein
or whatever it
Party,"
is.
so we're
Best
making a
time.
party.
Yeah.
So
We're
that's what,
making a party. I made this
So-
great party last night.
yeah.
I'm gonna
She
go
was
here.
doing a great party.
I'm gonna go and make a fag here.
I'm gonna go make a fake. Do you have any fire? It's like, 'cause you don't say
Yes,
like,
a
do you
lighter.
have a light? You say, do you have fire?
Yeah.
Has to
Yeah.
fire.
Then the role that it plays for me, right? So
Do you think in Irish?
sometimes
Right. Okay.
counting, yeah.
Yes, you do. I've heard you count in Irish.
Yeah, and then if I'm like talking to myself, if I'm working something out, and I'm on my own, like I'll do it in Irish.
So Irish, would you?
I get it a lot when I'm doing sound, no, because there's a lot of troubleshooting. I find it like that. I've got like an internal fucking monologue,
So and that's in Irish.
and that's in
So
Irish
do
a
you
lot of
find
the
that
time.
Irish helps your problem solving?
Yeah, maybe it's associated
Accessing-
with a different part of the brain.
Yeah.
Because I go to myself like, you know, if
Associated with learning things from a young age.
maybe it is, yeah, because it's like if there's a problem, and because that's all doing like sound engineering is, it's like it's okay,
Firefighting.
yeah,
Basically,
it's
like,
going
yeah.
shit, that cable's broke, so like or like I'm not getting signal here, so it's either this and this, or it could be option B, or it could be option
Yeah.
C. So like my brain will switch to fucking Irish.
And do you find that if you think in Irish, you can think better?
I think quicker.
Right. Okay.
I think
Okay.
because that's a problem. I always found that like in school I was quite good at maths, but I couldn't do like mental arithmetic quite quick. But I always like was able to get a solution. If it was a hard problem, I could get a solution to it. But I couldn't solve something very easy very quick.
Oh no, I couldn't do maths. I
Like-
needed. I didn't like anything that had like an answer.
See,
Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
different
I
in that way.
liked to be able to. I liked to be able to kind of like go. okay, but what about this? And then you go, okay, yeah, you know.
But what if the 2 was feeling slightly like 3
What if
today?
what if I just, what is X? Who cares? Like, what is X? Just for, you're never going to be in a situation where you need to know what an unknown thing is. It's like,
X
I
is
know
so
what it is.
last year.
X is so fucking O levels. I don't want to do it.
No, I was to say I really struggled with the basics. So see, I think it's because it was like, right, you have to sit and you have to learn all these times tables off by heart. The thought of that, I think, put a block in my head to go, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You know? So the basic things or whatever, I'm still, like, would take a wee minute to sit and struggle with, but I actually find it enjoyable to work out, like, a big fucking equation.
Have you ever done have you done a long division since you were at school?
Yeah.
And it's like, and then you get the answer and you go, oh, I
See,
remember how to do that.
Yeah.
See, sometimes I leave, like a complicated question up on that whiteboard, and then like I come in, it's already solved.
Or sorted, like,
Somebody must have been somebody with a beautiful mind.
yeah.
Has come in. Wait a minute. I left.
It's Bronagh.
Who changed that? She comes in, she does it. What you can't see is like this whole wall is just an equation.
That's just whenever, like,
Bronagh has worked out 0 point energy. And it's just equation. It's written in lipstick.
just after it happened, like, Sean took me off the streets and all, and like, got me out of trouble. Like,
He's a genius. Do you dream in Irish?
Oh, I don't know. In my head, like, I can't imagine, like, the talking in my dreams, if you know what I mean.
Ooh.
But Nicole says I talk in my sleep.
In your sleep.
I go, oh, shit, how are you? Just to win the chicks a party every night.
She's like, oh, fuck, here we go. We'll have to get to the last course.
It's Mission Portugal, Colin.
you better not be falling asleep in this bus going through the Schenkel.
She says I like talk in my sleep in
Break
Irish.
through the window. I dream in Spanish. I do dream in Spanish. If I'm dreaming about people
Last
that
night I dreamt of some big grove. There's a
There's a joke.
misheard lyric.
There's a
I always thought it was some bagels.
Last night I dreamt of some bagels.
When you dream in Spanish, are you in Spain?
I'm talking to Spanish friends.
Okay.
I don't know where I am. I don't necessarily need to be, but I'm talking to them.
Hey, los chicos.
Ay, chicos. Ay, Dios.
Yeah, so like when I took it for granted when I grew up because my parents were really into it, right? And so like,
And would they have spoken to you in Irish in the house? Would they have like
bit of both,
right? Okay.
because obviously like they're still like they were trying to encourage it as much as possible.
But they didn't
were
want you to fucking correct them either. They were like,
Yeah.
they're like, Mommy, Daddy, that's not how you say it. You want to fuck up.
Yeah, that's actually I think what deterred them a bit in the end because I became an Irish snob, like because I like
You became a wee unpedant.
Yeah.
You were like, you were just like, listen, Mommy, Daddy, don't be. I just want to talk to you as we met in
a
English.
big leaf now.
In English. Stop speaking Irish. You're shite at it.
and then I started like trying to teach my dad a bit more like about like the grammar side of things.
I'm
And
like, I don't have time. I've not sat down this day. I don't have time to be fucking learning Irish. What do you think? You got dinner's gonna make itself? She's running about. No, I'm not doing
because
it.
they had like conversational Irish,
Right.
but then like obviously like once you turn 10 or 11, you start doing like grammar and all that there, like the way you would in like
Oh, that
Irish school.
Another language.
Yeah, so it was the more structured side of like Irish that they didn't really have. So then I was like, I became a bit of a wee fucking Irish
Actually,
snob
no.
with
This
it.
is, you have to use the genitive.
But they
whenever
were
you do that,
very
Mommy, Daddy.
interested in that. But then like,
When another person, not whenever their like 13-year-old son
Yeah.
was telling them how to speak Irish,
Yeah.
you like got their fuck up. You.
but when I went through,
I remember when you couldn't say fuck all, and now you're saying to me,
try and fucking teach me how to speak,
teach me about the fucking genitive case in Irish. Kiss my hole.
poke my hole.
As leaving that wee Dot dot dot. See you there.
At the top end. So
And then it'll be black eye. Because the daddy was like out there.
we used to go to the Gaeltacht for 2 weeks every summer, and then we used to go to
See, as a Protestant person growing up and hearing about Gaeltacht, it sounded like somewhere like a mixture between the fucking like American summer camp,
Yeah.
and the Magdalen laundries.
I've never heard a more accurate description.
That's exactly what it
It was sort of a really weird thing that we had no direct parallel to.
Yeah, it was like had to
Unless you were in the boys' brigade and they were fucking recruiting you for
you
that.
had to spend a couple £100 like every summer to send your child off to go live like they were in the 50s and 60s.
You had to go to the credit union, ask for a loan, so you could send your child to the Gaeltacht to get fucking beaten by. What did you say? Because there was Gael. So for people who don't know the Gaeltacht, it is like a summer camp where all English is kind of like you're not allowed to speak English.
Ish.
Ish.
It depends who you are.
And it's always the fucking case.
So like
Not what you know, it's who you know.
we would have been held to a fucking higher standard because we were Líofa. You know what I mean?
What if you were just like Sida?
See, if you're a planta,
Just Planta, Flara.
Just give you a ball.
Just give you they give you
So-
crayons.
that's
There
where
you go.
like the difference was.
Here's the colours.
So before I was like old enough to go on my own. So I think from I was about 3,
Oh, so did you go?
I went with my parents.
Oh, they went
so
with you.
they went as well every year.
So did they have to like be all Gaeltachty?
Yes.
Did they get paid as well?
So
They were
they
paid.
were paid too by me. That's not the devil. Mo Canelak. Right.
What's that mean?
That's the conditional.
Mokif.
Conditional case. Is that a thing?
Conditional tense.
Yeah.
I
So-
would do that.
Yeah. That's what Mo Canelak is.
Was it? Oh,
Like but
I would do that. We don't have a conditional tense in English. We have to construct it.
right.
Whereas in Irish and Spanish and French and Italian, they have it.
Yeah.
And like you would just say aria. It's like I would do aria. Argo is I would do something, but we can't do that in English. We had to
The Yanhin Chin. If I was to do that.
if I were to do that. That's a subjunctive voice.
So like the verb there is John. Like to do.
But it has to be. See, yes, right.
And then here's the thing.
See, right, yes, this is we have to cut this bit because I guess is what
We're gonna get geeky.
We are going to. I'm going down the rabbit hole.
To go back to the thing, like so, we would have went for 2 weeks during the summer with my parents, and then once I turned 10 or 11, then I started going on my own.
Did you look forward to it?
I loved it.
Did you?
Like,
I was always jealous of
everybody.
like my mates that would go to it, like because
Yeah.
then they would all come back and be like, "Oh, here, see at the Gaeltacht, we were doing this, we were doing that."
Is that where you would have like your first snogs and your
Yeah,
first
yeah.
fingerings and all things like that there?
Yeah, and you were like just without your parents for
Like the first time.
the first time, like
Yeah.
you know. So it was a bit like.
But you'd have been
you had all sorts
parachuted
of
in and
crack.
you'd have been the wee mute kind of like
Crayons,
lad
like.
because you wouldn't have been, you'd have been on there's a wee Gurham crayon for you.
No,
where
like,
you and draw.
it's like so when you go then with school. Well, when I went with primary school, it was all obviously like from the Irish school. So then it's like
just a continuation of
stricter-
all day.
yeah. Whereas then when I went with my secondary school, like it was, you had ones that were learning Irish for the first time,
The segregation.
and then us. So we went to a different class and stuff, and so we were doing like fucking hard hitting like
so there's Líofa
stuff.
class and Amadon class.
Yeah, Bronagh. That's what it's called.
But you're a fucking Bronagh. Is that like
Fuck up, Bronagh.
is that like low level? But rang is like level, isn't it?
Bun is like bottom.
Bottom. But you're
Yeah.
that's a fucking Irish neologism right there. You're a
Bunrang.
fucking Bunrang. You're a fucking shut your fucking Bunrang
Bunrang
mouth.
But didn't you go and like you would stay in someone's house now?
Yeah, so you would stay like
Ardrang. That'd be high.
yeah, and
Okay.
like or like
That could be like like Gen Z language, but in like Ashgailga. That could be like you mean.
oh, that's so hard, right?
That's so fucking Ardrang. That's
Yeah.
like high.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like so even when you get none of the wee funnies, so anyone else,
So everybody has their Fanya hanging out. Fanya mean ring.
Means ring. I like to show my ring off.
Do you shine your fanya?
I like to show my ring.
Spit shine your fun. Get someone to spit shine your fanya for you.
I hate the idea of funyas. Like, because it feels very fucking crystal knocked or something to me. Like,
Oh right, you've been marked.
Yeah.
But is fanya not like good?
oh, it's meant to be like empowering. It's like, oh, you see somebody else wearing a funya in the wild, and you can like approach them in Irish.
If you look now, he's spotted his fanya. He's approaching. He's approaching him very slowly.
What's an old man again?
David Attenborough.
Then Sean, didn't you?
Oh.
Sean, didn't you?
Sean
Sorry.
Dahi Attenborough.
But
Here we see the Sean, didn't you?
there's a wee like fucking
Totally
shibboleth as well to show that like I'm not fucking like a Western Irish speaker.
Right.
Like, because I would say Sean, didn't you? But actually the Sean, didn't you? If you were to include the Chevy in that. So when you put two words together, so if you've got Sean, which means older ways, and Dinya, which means person, if you put them together,
That should become
this should be
Ginya.
Sean, Dinya.
It's going to be a heavily edited.
Yeah,
episode.
sorry, but I'm born of bollocks.
No, I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. I love this. Look at my. Oh my god! I could.
Fanya.
You're showing the girls off.
Oh my god! Such a whore. Only 2 buttons.
So, went to Gaeltacht and in Donegal, actually, most of the time, in Tyrconnell,
And so would that be
Connell's country.
Tyr? It means country. Yeah.
Tyrconnell.
So Tyrone is like
Tyrone is Owen's.
Owen's country. Who the fuck is Owen?
Actually, Owen O'Neill. Isn't it? Owen O'Neill, I think, is the old
Isn't
Irish
O'Neill?
chieftain.
Isn't it the oldest?
So O'Neill's Tyrone, like.
O'Neill's is Tyrone.
But there's two different O'Neill's.
yeah.
like-
There's one in the town, there's one at Kennedy Centre.
I knew
Yes.
a girl who. I knew. That's just listen, that's just Catholic clerks accessories. I'm sorry. If you need a tricolour, stop.
So,
Yeah, and Tyrconnell is just
Connell's
country.
Tier no,
which-
land of the young.
Yeah, but that actually people use Tyrconnell as a way to describe Donegal, but I don't think it actually. It's not all of Donegal.
It's just the Gaeltacht area.
I think it's just the Gaeltacht area, but that's not anything to do with it being a Gaeltacht. But I think that's just the territory that the
That's
Connell
how-
clan
Had.
had. Yeah, but so it's sort of like when people say Holland for the Netherlands, but that's not all of
It's not. It's the Netherlands.
It's the Netherlands.
Oh.
But and then there's a few ones with like Irish counties, like interesting things like Galway.
That Galway.
Galway. Galway means foreigner or foreigners.
Oh, because it's in Donegal means Fort of the Foreigner.
yes. So Donegal, Donegal, Fort of the Foreigners. So it's because a lot of like
Oh, so because so what did you
Norse
say?
tribes.
Donegal.
Donegal.
So is that because there's an N?
Oh yeah, before
N
the G. Yeah.
before
so
the G.
Gal,
It's foreigner.
which actually may come from Gaul.
Probably.
Probably comes from Gaul,
As in
from France.
Because there's Gaels and Gauls.
Because there actually is no, I don't think there's actually an explanation as to what they refer to as foreigners.
So the gold.
So
it's
I
also-
assume it's.
But it sounds almost. Fort of the Foreigner sounds like a fucking quarantine area. You know, for people who are coming in. Do you like Ireland's very own wee fucking Ellis
Detention.
Island?
Yeah.
Like they're coming in like, no.
Or like a
shit.
fucking TSA, like detention centre.
But like the total opposite of America was, but like, what are you over for? Ah, fuck, who cares? Or you go, son. Whereas you go into America, it's like, what's your business?
It's like,
What's your
what do you
address?
call that place? That's just fucking foreigners.
Hang. Hang.
Which is funny, isn't it? Because it's funny how two places that are called Fort of the Foreigners and Foreigners Land is like the places that we associate with like the most Irish in the country.
The most there. But I wonder, is it because of where they are? If you think about like Donegal is probably where like you'd probably had more like
Norse.
Viking and Norse people coming, and then like that west coast of Ireland, you don't have to come from England. You could just go round and just come.
Yeah, because that song, I was singing it, Oro should have a Hawalia. So it's like that's actually about an old Irish, like lordess.
Lady.
Yeah. Sorry.
I just a lordess.
Fair.
The fucking it was coming to me in Irish,
English.
and I was going.